The free agent fever continues. Dwyane Wade going home. His only home in the NBA last 13 years in Miami, but now he goes back to Chicago. Surprising most around the NBA. Dwyane Wade, 2 years, $47.5 million. Could opt out after one. As we react to this stunning news here in our studios at Game Time, Casey Stern, Dennis Scott. DZ, how about the fact that we were all surprised about Durant? We took a deep breath, and not too soon, because here comes Dwyane Wade. How stunned are you that he leaves Miami?
I'm still stunned, still shocked. All of he's done for Miami, Wade County, 13 years, the championships, falling down 7 times, getting up. And now he's putting away the Gucci flip-flops for some Gucci boots? Are you kidding me? I don't want to leave the sand to go to the snow. I thought no place like home.
Do you waste the money on Gucci boots when you're sitting there in the snow?
Well, they make high-priced Gucci boots. So for someone like D. Wade, he's leaving those flip-flops, those boots. But to your question, I'm still shocked.
You know, I think one of the surprising parts in all of this is the fact that I think everybody thought the meetings were for leverage, right? Dwyane Wade is meeting with, I mean, look at the teams, no disrespect. Denver, not going to go to Denver. He's not going to go to Milwaukee. Chicago's not ready to win. Somewhere that changed. Do you think this had more to do with the sales pitch from Chicago or more to do with maybe the relationship being a little bit knocked down in recent times with Pat Riley and Mickey Arison?
I think the way this thing finished up, the relationship down in South Beach had got a little sour because there's no way you can stay somewhere for 13 years and give it your all every day from start to finish. You were from Miami, so to speak. So to see them not finish this thing up properly, once again, Casey, I'm shocked because D. Wade was Wade County. He's been there for his whole life.
You know, one of the I think the frustrating parts for people to try and figure out, Fred Hoiberg wants to go up and down the floor. The Bulls wanted to get younger and faster. No offense to D. Wade, not young or fast anymore at this point. Now they've got guys who are going to want to be more isolation than going up and down. Does this make any sense for you from a basketball sense on the floor for Chicago?
Right away, no, to your point. Hoiberg wants to get out and run more. Now, are you getting the stop so you can get out and run? Otherwise, you're taking the ball to the basket. Now you're going against a set defense every time. Does Rondo have a flash in the pan like he showed us back in Boston? Last year in Sacramento, he showed us he can get out and run, and they were at high pace. But now D. Wade doesn't get out and run as much. Jimmy Butler wants to play some defense, or should I say, get back to that defensive-minded guy he once was. Obviously, his offense has gotten better. But at the end of the day, can these 3 guys really bring that kind of play every night to compete in the Eastern Conference? Maybe, but I don't think it's enough right now.
Yeah, they lose depth. Dunn leaving out of the Cavs and Calderon off to the Lakers. Not easy decision for Dwyane Wade. Here's what he had to say upon leaving Miami. This has been an extremely emotional and tough decision to come to. After 13 years, I've decided to embark on a new journey with the Chicago Bulls. Not an easy decision, but I feel I've made the right choice for myself and for my family. Continues, I started my NBA career with the Miami Heat in 2003. It's been an honor to have played with them and helping a winning franchise with 3 NBA championships. Look back with pride and amazement at all we have accomplished together. And then finally, I want to express my gratitude to the Arison family, Pat Riley, Coach Spoelstra, the coaching staff, the entire Miami Heat organization. I've never forgotten where I came from, and I'm thankful to have an opportunity to play for the team that first fueled my love of the game. We get an opportunity now to talk about the big news of Dwyane Wade going home to Chicago to play for the Bulls. Our own David Aldridge joins us. DA, we heard the quote, Dwyane Wade, obviously tough decision to leave Miami, but now that we've digested it here for a couple hours, are you any less stunned by the news?
Well, Casey, still very surprised by it. Given everything that Dwyane Wade has done and has meant for that franchise. Look, they're going to retire his jersey. They're going to build a statue outside of that arena for this guy. This was not just a guy passing through. You know, he's been there his whole career and really is the most important player in that franchise's history. He's more important than Alonzo Mourning. He's more important than Shaquille O'Neal. He's more important than LeBron James. I mean, he just is because of the excellence that he's displayed over the years, and really him being there is what propelled James and Chris Bosh to come down there to South Beach. So it's surprising, but, you know, it's always difficult when you're talking about business at the end of a great player's career because the great player wants to be recognized for everything he's done for you, and the team a lot of times does not want to pay that. And clearly that's not what the Heat wanted to do. They thought their offer was fair. Dwyane Wade says, I've never been the highest paid player on this team. It's time that that changes, and it's time that I stop taking pay cuts. He was willing to do it while LeBron was there and they were getting to the finals every year. But once LeBron left, that was the end of that. That was the end of those discounts. He wanted fair market value. He had given up $10 million. He lost $10 million, I should say, when LeBron left. And I think he wanted to recoup some of those losses.
13 years, 12 All-Star appearances, yeah, Finals MVP, 3 championships. You just broke down how important he is to that franchise. How come the Heat didn't do more? Why wouldn't they extend? We look at Dallas, their handling of Dirk Nowitzki. You look at other franchises this way. Why wouldn't Pat Riley, Mickey Arison and company do more to make sure that Wade would stay?
Well, I think it came down to, again, they believed that at the end of the day, Dwyane Wade would stay. They believed that if they got anywhere close to what other teams were offering, he would stay because of his loyalty to the franchise and, again, because of the history between the player and the franchise. But, again, I didn't realize this last week when this first started going. I thought it was just kind of typical because they did it last year. But over the weekend, and I've been talking about this for the last 3 or 4 days, I came to realize that there were some really hard feelings between Dwyane Wade and the Heat, going both ways. And there was some real fence mending that needed to be done. And maybe, Casey, they waited too late to do it. You know, I think they said, we're not going to give away an asset, whether it's Josh McRoberts or someone else, to get Dwyane Wade a few more $1 million when we're offering him 20. Now, business-wise, that might make all the sense in the world, but basketball, or like any sport, is more of an emotional business. It's more of a fan-based business, and it's hard to explain to fans how your iconic franchise face is now going to be playing in Chicago the last 2 years of his career.
You know, the irony is the weather ends up keeping the meeting from happening between the Bulls, the team he goes to, and Dwyane Wade. 2 other teams he met with, when you look at Denver and Milwaukee, did you get a sense, because a lot of the talk was nationally, well, maybe it's just leverage. Did you get a sense, DA, that there was actually some interest from Dwyane's part in both of those organizations?
I didn't get the sense that Denver was really a place he was looking at, even though they could offer him a lot of money, and in fact, more than anybody else. I didn't get any sense that he was really looking seriously at that. Maybe a passing glance at Milwaukee. He did go to school at Marquette. The Bucks do have a good young team, but at the end of the day, if you're going to leave, you know, if there's only one place really that you would go, or 2 places. That would be Chicago or New York, and the Knicks. Once they got Courtney Lee, they just didn't have the money to be able to make anything happen in that regard. So I think it was, you know, Chicago making moves, moving Mike Dunleavy, moving Jose Calderon to get a contract that was bigger than the one that Miami offered, and that was enough.
The Bulls were said to be retooling, rebuilding. Fred Hoiberg wants to go up and down the floor. None of this really meshes, DA, with Dwyane Wade coming on board. How do you make sense of this fitting into the philosophies, and can you make sense of it fitting into the philosophy of the Chicago Bulls?
Well, it's odd, especially when you add Rondo to that mix, Casey. I mean, you know, you've now got a point guard who's very talented but really struggles to shoot perimeter shots consistently, and a player in Dwyane Wade who's still good, but less efficient getting to the basket and drawing free throws than he used to be. So, you know, I'm not sure if I'm playing Chicago that any of my 5 defenders are going to set a foot outside of the paint, because there's no reason to. I'm going to let Rondo and D. Wade shoot as many jumpers as they want, and most nights I think I'm going to be okay. And you wonder how they're going to utilize Dwyane and Jimmy Butler together. I mean, you know, like I said, I think it's an odd mix. It's not a natural fit. Now, Fred Hoiberg's a smart coach, and he'll figure out a way to use him, but just looking on the surface, it's not a natural fit bringing Dwyane Wade into this system.
Keep the bat phone handy. You never know what's coming next. It's been a busy few days. Thanks, DA. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Casey.
The reaction continues to file in, especially from both cities involved in this case, in Miami and Chicago. We hear from some of that beginning down south in Miami with Ethan Skolnick.
He was angry, really angry about just the way that he felt like he was an afterthought with the Heat, and, you know, time after time. And, you know, when basically they locked up Whiteside first, you know, which had to be done because Dallas was coming hard for him, and they knew that. But then the Durant chase, which was kind of doomed from the very beginning, and basically, hang around and wait, and we'll get to you on what the dollar figure is going to be. That didn't sit well with Dwyane. And I understand that he's 34 years old, and I get all that, but 13 years in the organization, he's been the face of the franchise during that entire period of time, and he wanted to be treated with more respect than that. And there were other issues here involved too. For all of sort of the happy Heat lifer stuff and all that, there have been some issues that have been bubbling under the surface for a while. And, not just for Dwyane, but, LeBron left. There were a lot of reasons that LeBron left, but there were some frustrations with some of the things that happened in Miami. Chris Bosh, who's very close with Dwyane, has been frustrated about the way that the Heat have handled his health situation, even though a lot of us kind of agree with the way that the Heat have handled that situation. But when you look at that and the fact that there really wasn't anything to keep Dwyane anymore. Most of the teammates that he's played with are gone.
This is going to be rough for Heat fans. This is going to be real rough. Dwyane Wade had surpassed, I think, this is my humble opinion, and I covered both guys at one point or another, had surpassed really the beloved nature of Dan Marino, which is, I even want to hesitate to say it only because, football is the culture in South Florida, but that got shifted with 3 championships that are far more recent than the 2 that the Dolphins had won and the none that Dan orchestrated, not to his own fault, but just the dynamic of the Dolphins during those years. And for anybody that's from South Florida, you realize that that's saying a hell of a lot. And in the end, you felt like, in a meeting where there is Mickey Arison and there is Nick Arison, as well as Pat Riley, as well as many others from the organization, that eventually that the reality of the relationship would emerge. Here's what I do know. I do know that the Heat loved Dwyane Wade and wanted to get a deal done. And after experiencing what DeAndre Jordan went through last year, you never know. But it was staggering, to answer your question.
That was a big part of the Bulls' pitch, was that you come here, we're obviously rebuilding or retooling, whatever you want to call it, on the fly. We've got veterans in Rondo, verbal commitment from Rondo. We acquired a strong center in Robin Lopez in the Derrick Rose trade. And with you here and the cap jumping again next summer, we're going to be able to add another max free agent. So that was obviously beyond the attraction of Wade coming back to his hometown and really to a franchise that he worshipped growing up, like everybody from this area, with the Jordan and Pippen teams, obviously. That was a big part of the attraction, and I think the connection that the two parties found.
If he's going to take a one-year flyer, he can go play with a guy like Jimmy Butler, who can sort of take the edge off of him having to be on the opposing team's drawing board every night as a top perimeter guy. He won't have to take on that responsibility. Not saying they're similar to playing with LeBron James, but he's playing with a guy who's better than him, so he can sort of roam and play a little bit freely without having a responsibility that he had in Miami the last couple of years. And if things sort of work out, at least he's in Chicago, where he's familiar, where his foundation is, where he does a lot of charity work here, where he still loves the Chicago area. And then you sort of move forward with an open mind with Fred Hoiberg, with the front office, playing with Jimmy Butler, and on top of that, staying in the Eastern Conference, where he can see the Miami Heat 3 or 4 times a year, staying in the Eastern Conference where he can be head up against his buddy LeBron James in Cleveland. I think that was something that was very important to him. He didn't want to go to parts unknown. I think he wanted to stay close enough for people to be reminded of his greatness.